Hello guys, let's continue the presentation of the RadCORE project. So we're talking in this sequence of videos about some layout templates that RadCORE offers, and we see how we can get complex layouts without using HTML, without using CSS. So we've seen some examples in the previous videos, and in this video I want to show you some more details, so that we have this dynamic of availability that RadCORE offers to create beautiful, responsive screens without the use of HTML. In the previous example, we studied layout number 1, so I'm going to do a test here now with our layout number 3, the POS layout, a layout of so we can see here people how we can get super nice layouts with RadCORE without using anything of. HTML is, and the best thing is that everything is responsive, we are right, so we can get super interesting effects with RadCORE without using HTML. We can check here, quickly, at project time, our application, our layout, all with native components of UNIGUI itself. There's no third-party component, there's no HTML, we're using everything from UNIGUI itself, applying the dynamic features that RadCORE offers. So this is another example of a layout that we have within our project. Let's look at some more models here. I'm going to take our pinpad model here. So we have a very interesting and functional pinpad model here. So we can use some very interesting effects where we have the perfect adjustment of the buttons. They follow. You see that I've got buttons here that are bigger than each other, either in height or in width, and they go perfectly with our responsive process. So, one more example that we have to present, an all, people, native component of our dear UNIGUI, together, enhanced with the dynamic attributes that RadCORE offers. So, all these examples, guys, follow the project and you have access to how they were put together, what are the dynamic attributes that are being used so that you can study, learn and apply in your projects. Let's look at one more project here, let's look at one more example. This is another very interesting example that shows how powerful RadCORE is in controlling layouts. We have here a small container, as if it were a login, that follows my position on the right side of my browser. So you'll see that as I move my browser, it follows both to the right and to the left. This example here is interesting, because on mobile I don't need this right alignment, on mobile I want it to be centered. So if I go in here with the application in mobile mode, it's going to automatically deactivate that process that we were in and it's going to stick centered on the screen. Going back, if I go here reducing my form until it reaches mobile, it will now center and it won't work but stay now connected here side OK. So if I have it on desktop it goes back to paste on the right side. So this here is another example people also a lot. It's interesting that we're going to have it available here inside RadCORE to demonstrate how we can get these interesting effects here at RadCORE. So here's our login example. It's no big deal, it's all a native component. Let's take a look at a few more examples that RadCORE has along with complex layouts. We're going to have examples here that apply to forms. So see, I've got here an example where I've got a slash and I've got some right side buttons, here I've got left side buttons, here I've got the buttons at the top, here also I've got buttons at the top. These buttons, it has a caption, these don't. So here I have my entire responsive system working as we already know. Okay, now see how these buttons are now going to behave when I go into mobile mode. Okay guys, so in mobile my bar that was on this side came down this bar that. It was on the left side, it was up like that, and the captions disappeared like that. So look what an interesting effect that we have here available, right, using RadCORE. So this here is another example of a super complex layout to be assembled, even in the HTML, and we have everything here with native component of UNIGUI itself and performing this alignment task without resorting to HTML, without resorting to JavaScript, just the dynamic resources of the RadCORE itself. Let's give it here so we can close our examples. Okay, so we have some more examples here where you can work with the dynamic blocks. Okay, and this example will bring you to study several possibilities of blocks with and without borders. So as you can see, here, oh, I've got blocks that I've got side edge, other ones here, they're together, right, the two of them are together, this one, oh, it's together, but this one has grown to grow here, this one has grown to here, so you hear, I demonstrate several ways on how you get the responsive blocks. And working is the question of edges. There's an edge, no edge, next to each other, or not, in different ways, okay, and these values that we're seeing here are going to be a subject of a next video that we're going to demonstrate to you, okay? Another example, also here the call sample, is an example of 5 blocks, which I don't use responsive block, it's just to demonstrate how RadCORE can work with alignment features, positioning, even without using responsive blocks, and you get a layout result is also interesting, okay? Well, that's what it's that we're going to have here more of examples like I'm going to take here the example of layout without data like that, so I have here a modal form that's being opened inside a tab, okay, so I can open frames inside tabs, I can open forms within tabs, and I can open my form in a modal way. I can have my modal form, I can open a second form from my first form, so all of these features you have available as well in the RadCODE examples. Zooming in here, going into mobile, I've got my form adjusting to the screen of my device, occupying the entire area, and going back to the desktop, it goes back to positioning itself with the size, with the original dimensions of it, okay? So here are some examples, now with data. So here's an example that we're going to have in RadCORE, of dynamic list view with pagination features. So notice that I have my pages, so if I go to the next page, my numbering that goes with it, I can go to on my last page, I can go back here to the first one, this list view. It works from a mantable, where I work, load a query into it, load a table into it, and I'll create this list view at runtime. Okay guys, so I can here, oh, make a page selection so and so. So let's say I want to go to page 25, so and so. It jumps here to page 25. I can change that my pager is 15 records per page, 25 per page, 50 per page, so and so. So here I'm recovering here, giving it a refresh, okay, and I'm working with my registration limits per page. So this here is another example, very interesting people that RadCORE brings so that we can know the benefits that RadCORE offers us. One more example is the dynamic contact list. You imagine that you have a customer record and you want to add unlimited contact adding features. You don't want to be tied to a limit of 2 records, 3 records, so this example helps you with that. So I clicked here. It adds for me a name and a phone number. I clicked again, it adds one more name, another phone, so every time you click and it expands my blocks here, it expands my contacts card, and then, if not, I don't want it all here. I'm going to remove this one, so you'll also be able to remove what you've added. So it's another very interesting example that shows how powerful RadCORE is to create useful layout resources for your project without needing HTML. Let's see here another example of dynamic timeline creation. I'm also taking a main table here, right? So imagine that you want to put the step-by-step update log of your application, okay? So you've got an example here ready in RadCORE for you to do that, okay? So I'm going to have here all the version that came out, the date it came out, if there was an update, if there was a new feature additive, if there was a bug fix, a fix for some problem, okay? So we also have this example that is created dynamically, okay? All these visual components that you're seeing on the screen are created based on our mentable. There's none of that here available at runtime. I'm going to get the demo timeline here just so we can check it out. This is the demo timeline. I don't have anything here in it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I only have our scrollbox here. The rest is all assembled at runtime. Okay, so we have 2 examples of timeline, one of the lateral and which is what I called zigzag, which is the little balloon on the side, a little balloon on the other, a little balloon of one side, a little balloon on the other, but following the same context. Perfect. So, all of the code from these examples is available to you, from how they were created, as well as the pagination, so that you can follow along and see and learn how to apply these features that RadCORE offers. I'll see you then in the next video.